Last summer, I spent time with 5 Scots and the Royal Irish as they fought the Taliban in Helmand Province, Afghanistan.
Ah! Shrapnel.
When I got back to the UK, I went to meet up with some of the soldiers injured by the biggest threat to life in Afghanistan, improvised explosive devices. I returned to Afghanistan, first to its capital, Kabul, where I meet the British ambassador.
There are leaders among the Taliban who are fed up with the fighting.
Then I go back to the front line at Kajaki for my first winter tour with Victor Company 4-5 Commander.
Whoa! 2, 1 went in, incoming straight over us. Got enough. Ross, stay on the track!
We often read about the death of a soldier, but we rarely hear about the many more seriously injured in combat. Headley Court is the main rehabilitation centre for the armed forces. I've come here to meet up with Colonel David Richmond, the highest-ranking officer to have been injured in Afghanistan, and also the commanding officer of 5 Scots, the regiment I spent time with last summer. While he receives treatment, I meet up with some of the other soldiers here. I'm just about to meet a guy called Derek. He's a member of the Mercian Regiment, and he lost both his legs a year ago in Afghanistan. I catch up with him as he's measured for a new set of legs. Can you tell me what happened?
We were just about to go to a meeting to another place, to another local village. And while we were reversing the vehicle, we didn't know that we parked the vehicle right over an anti-tank mine. It was inside a 44-gallon drum. Well, the 44-gallon drum was cut in half, buried in the ground, and then inside they put 2 anti-tank mine. And on the side they put 6 inches of nails.
What vehicle were you in, a Wimmick?
I was in a Wimmick, yeah. I was top cover in a Wimmick. And yeah, I just exploded within seconds. They just threw the vehicle up in the air and then...
And what happened to the other people in the vehicle?
They were thrown off as well. I was being thrown off for more than 20 meters, nearly 30 meters.
How much pain were you in at that point?
I can't say the amount of pain that I suffered that day. So huge, and I couldn't compare it with any other thing. Before they came to rescue me, I looked up the sky and I said a prayer. I said, Lord, I know that I won't make it today, but if you have a plan for me to be a motivator, to be an inspiration to others who are still alive, my colleagues, give me back life again. And there's a reason why I thank God every time that I'm still alive.
Okay, do you want to have a jog down the corridor, see how that's feeling?
His passion in life is rugby, and he's determined to get back out on the field again. So he's trying out his new running legs. As a double amputee above the knee, Derek uses 3 times more energy to walk than an able-bodied person.
It's coming really nicely.
Thank you.
We just need to get a bit more training in.
Yeah, on the track.
Yeah.
Every evening, the lads get together to play Timmy tennis, named after the disabled boy in South Park.
Well, one thing's for sure, the boys haven't lost their competitive edge.
You know, one thing about being a soldier is team spirit, and that's still here in spades. Playing for the opposing team at Timmy Tennis was Royal Marine Peter Dunning. He was injured in Afghanistan when his armoured vehicle, a Viking, hit an improvised explosive device.
Right, sit down, mate.
Yeah.
You can't remember?
No, I can remember the whole day beforehand, everything of what we did. But come to when that actually happened, I can't remember anything of it. Just here in the centre, where this hatch is here, that's where I was standing at the time.
That was what you were in?
Yeah.
The top half of your body was outside of that cab.
Yeah.
The engine went up, didn't
Yeah,
it?
all 4 doors got blown off, and including the engine bay cover as well. Obviously, this is the very front of it round here. That's the engine bay cover there.
Well, people heard it 7 k's away, didn't they?
Yeah. There was bits of my Viking on the other side of the river.
So it's gone, what, 200 metres?
Yeah, 200-300 metres.
Peter wasn't the only casualty. The driver of the vehicle, a close friend, was killed by the blast.
On the left-hand side here was where my driver would have been. Obviously, he just took all the impact early, literally right underneath him.
So it's amazing you think that you were inside that and you survived that.
Yeah, every day now I really am counting my blessings. Because as I say, with me and my driver, we just swap around each day. It was just that day he was driving, I was commanding, so the lads, when they stood, they were like, basically saying, how are you here? We really do not know how you are here. Nowadays, I ask that myself, how am I here?
I have to say, it's just been incredible spending time with him. He's an impressive man. You know, he said he's always set himself goals in life before he lost his legs, and now he's setting himself some more goals, so maybe a little bit higher, but I intend to achieve them. It sort of makes me, as a, an able-bodied person, quite humbled at seeing how determined he is. And also, I imagine when you've lost both your limbs like that, you have to deal with some very, very dark times.
I never had the chance to meet Colonel Richmond while I was in Afghanistan, as he had been shot through the thigh 2 months before I arrived in Musakala.
How difficult is it just moving the leg?
Apparently it weighs 13 pounds, that frame. Right. When I first got it, it was a bit like having a sandbag on your leg all the time.
His injury has left his right leg 10 centimetres shorter than his left. To correct this, he has to grow new bone.
When I had this fitted, the surgeon found that a lot of the recovered bone had died, so he cut it all away. Which, the irony being, the first step of making my leg longer actually made it twice as short as it was in the first place.
But the idea is that this will grow.
Yeah, essentially you take a chisel and whack it with a hammer to break through the bone.
Right.
And I turn the screws 4 times a day, and essentially the bone will grow to chase the gap.
Colonel Richmond was injured north of Musakala near a town called Katz. This footage was taken immediately after he was shot.
What do you think of the Taliban as an enemy?
They're not stupid, but that's for sure. I think if you treat them as being stupid, you're making a big mistake. They've got lots of guile, lots of cunning. They know the ground, and they will fight hard. We're making very small progress in very discrete areas, but there simply aren't enough of us to join all the dots. If we want to make substantial progress on the security front, then you need more boots on the ground.
The Colonel's thoughts echo many of those I've heard in theatre. Having come face to face with the human cost of improvised explosive devices, I'm heading back to Afghanistan. On my way to the front line in Helmand province, I've stopped off in the capital, Kabul. It may be a long way from the fighting in the south, but the Afghans still patrol its borders to keep Taliban suicide bombers out of the city. I don't envy their job, as the temperature today is -12.
As you can see, it's quite cold where I am. We're on one of the mountains overlooking Kabul city. The city itself sits at around 6,000 feet above sea level. It's got a population of around 3.5 million people, but that number shrank to 100,000 when the Taliban occupied the place. However, the Taliban haven't completely gone. There are isolated pockets of them dotted all around the Punch Bowl. And they frequently come into the town, extort money, and kill randomly. That said, I'm getting back into the vehicle because it's Baltic up here. in Baltic.
Kabul is also policed by coalition forces. Here Germans serve next to Bulgarians, Americans and the British. We're on our way to meet Sir Sherard Cowper-Coles. He's the British ambassador here in Kabul. He's an historian and a multilinguist. He also runs one of the biggest diplomatic missions in the world in one of the most sensitive places in the world. He's requested a specific location for the interview, but he's asked us first to meet him at the British Embassy. This is the most heavily defended British embassy in the world. Ambassador?
Hi, Ross. Welcome to the British Embassy, Kabul.
Thank you. We're escorted by the ambassador's close protection team, who transport us in two armour-plated vehicles.
This country is coming out of 30 years of war, and one of the exciting things is the way it has grown since 2001. The buildings have been put up again, the roads have been resurfaced, telephone cables are up again, and you can see there's a lot of economic activity going on.
You've had, problems with suicide bombers and with gunmen coming into town.
Yeah, no, quite right. I mean, there's a big terrorism problem here, but there's also a law and order problem, a problem associated with the drugs trade, with local petty warlords, with kidnapping. And what worries ordinary Afghans as much as terrorism, as much as the Taliban, is the threat to law and order. The guns are everywhere, people are poor, people are unemployed, and they take matters into their own hands.
10 minutes later, we arrive at our destination.
Here we are at Swimming Pool Hill in northern Kabul, and this is the great Olympic swimming pool built by the Russians here in the 1970s. But it's got a more recent, bloodier history. It was used by the Taliban for executions. Here in the pool, people were tried and then shot or strangled. And for many Afghans, it's a place of terrible memories. This is a broken country. We've made a lot of progress since 2001 in repairing it, but there's a hell of a long way to go.
And it's still one of the poorest in the world.
It's one of the poorest in the world. There are 4 countries in sub-Saharan Africa that are less developed than Afghanistan. And where it was in the 1970s when this pool was built, it was a place where people came for holidays from Pakistan. It was a garden city with trolley buses and trams, with great avenues lined with trees. When the Civil War finished here in 1995, it looked like Berlin in 1945. The Taliban then came in 96, and a lot of people welcomed them because they thought they were bringing order after the chaos of the Civil War, and for a while they did, and then people saw the true nature of their regime. And I mean, the great thing is that people have had a test drive of the Taliban. They know what it's like being run by the Taliban, and they don't want them back. They really don't. Every time a suicide bomber detonates his suicide vest or whatever it may be, we may lose 2 or 3 Afghan police officers, but we probably lose a dozen Afghan civilians. And they are suffering, they are bleeding, and they want us here. They know that without us here, Lashkar, Kandahar, perhaps even Kabul itself would fall again to the Taliban. We can't just walk away from what we're doing here.
Do you think there will ever be peace in Afghanistan while the Taliban are in existence?
Yes, I think there will be peace. I think we need to remember there's peace across great areas of this country. The insurgency is in fact quite localized. And there are leaders among the Taliban, local commanders there, who are fed up with the fighting, fed up with being separated from their families, fed up with being constantly hounding, who are looking for a settlement. I would hope 5-10 years from now we would see our role in direct combat operations reduced or eliminated.
It's a sad thing to admit, but I've been to places in Africa where people have been burning churches and, dreadful things have happened, and
They always seem to have the same aura about them. You can feel that something bad happened here. The Taliban would shoot people off the highest board and then push them down into the pool here. It's obviously been left like this as a reminder probably to the people around here that things like that should never happen again. And I, for one, definitely hope they never happen again.
I've got just one day left in Kabul before I head for Helmand province. I've asked the close protection team to take us to an area of the city where we can talk to some of the locals.
Thanks, mate. So we're in a place called Kajaki. I think that's as close as I'm going to get it. This is Amal, it's going to translate for me. Good to see you again. So let's go meet some people and see if they're willing to talk to us. Yes. But what does he think about having so many foreign troops in his country?
What does he think about
the suicide bombers? Do you think that then there will ever be a time when the ISAF forces can leave and the Afghan National Army can look after its borders?
100% ما امی امید ما است که مردم افغانستان خودشون توجه امیر کار دارن که آینده افغانستان نیروی طالبان را به کلی چهره ازوار به رسمیت میشناسن که انتحاری علیه مردم میکنن و تمام و اما ما مشخص بر از یا گفتن نمیتونیم گفتیم که حکومت طالبان را امکان 100% از قبایل پاکستان کمک میکنن اینمی طبقه مردم هستن اما ما گفتن نمیتونیم در داخل شهر کابل امنیت تامین است ان شاء الله تعالی در داخل شهر کابل کار کردن نمیتونن.
Just before we left the village, we were walking down through the building site and a piece of equipment dropped into a very deep excavation. And the man that we'd just been talking to just unwrapped the long scarf he had round his neck. The little boy grabbed hold of it, he lowered him down, and he picked it up. And one of the security guys turned around and said, adapt and overcome. I think it maybe sums up the way their future is at the moment. You know, they're having to adapt and overcome many things they have done in the past, but from what I can see at the moment, there seems to be definite light at the end of the tunnel for the people here. And, you know, from the bottom of my heart, I really hope that they get there, because they deserve to.
I'm heading for Kajaki, the most northern British base in Helmand province. It's not far from Musakala, where I spent time last summer with 5 Scots. The last time I was in Kajaki was in 2007 with the Royal Anglian Regiment. This time, I'm joining Victor Company 4-5 Commando, Royal Marines. Their main task is to defend and protect the hydroelectric dam here. Hopefully in 2 years' time, it will be fully operational, supplying electricity to 1.7 million people across southern Afghanistan.
I take it you are the fire support group? We are, yeah. Explain to us exactly what the FSG do here.
The patrol chute will go out on the ground. We'll have gone out before, basically with the metal detectors, yeah, looking for IEDs or mines or pressure pads, whatever they lay in now. And we'll clear the route for them.
You literally, most of the time, you are fighting in the minefield, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think everybody's biggest concern is amputation. Personally, that's my biggest fear, is losing limbs.
My mate of mine's paralysed, he's out on Herrick 5, and he's paralysed from the mid-chest down. He's 21, it's life over, innit? And he's got a little shitty flat in Glasgow. Do you know what I mean?
Heard with close friends of ours already on this tour that I've lost arms and legs, so...
You can be the best, most skillful soldier, you know, the best lad anyone's worked with. You step 1 foot outside that armoured box and that's the end of it. My missus works in a call centre. She earns more than me. Do you know what I mean?
So isn't it frustrating because of the rules of engagement that you know, even after a contact, and you see them leaving without weapons, that you can't contact them?
It's a long tour, isn't it? You know, we're going to catch them eventually.
The Fire Support Group, or FSG, have traded in the old Wimmick Land Rovers, useless against mines and IEDs, for the better protection of the Jackal.
This is the first time I've actually been this close to a Jackal. Do you like them?
Yeah, they're brilliant pieces of kit. Compared to the old Rumix, they're a lot better, like, a lot more protection. We fit a mine in one of the Jackals, like, and 3 lads survived. Just with cuts and bruises, no major injuries.
Still got the round stuck in that what?
That's gone through, is it? Has it gone through?
Yeah.
So that's an AK round, yeah?
Either that or PKM,
Yeah.
The Marines are having a busy winter tour, so it's not long before I'm out on an operation. We're heading south down the 611 to a Taliban stronghold known as Big Top. The FSG's job is to offer covering fire to troops on the ground. They're generally first in and last out. After a certain point on the 611, the Marines have to dismount and start minesweeping their way up the road. They call this barmering.
Try and stay back in this one, mate.
Yeah.
Not sure what it is.
Okay, we've just been told to stay back.
We are very close to the enemy now and very exposed. We're now moving up to a piece of high ground which they will use, and obviously the Taliban know that they use it, and it's frequently IED'd.
Progress is slow, giving the Taliban plenty of time to prepare an attack. Taliban radio traffic, called ICOM, is monitored by interpreters working with the Marines.
There's more ICOM chat coming in.
They're prepping a big thing for when we get up in the hills, so we never come back.
Now, you know, that could mean they've got something big lined up for us, or it could mean they know that we listen to the ICOM chatter and they're just trying to play psychological games with us. I have to say, this is the worst bit, the bit before, because you're sort of all alone with your own fear. When it eventually kicks off, there's other things going on. You don't really think about that, but it's these moments before when you only have yourself and your brain telling you things that you don't want to listen to. Fucking scary time right now, I have to say.
I just spotted someone. I'm not sure where he is, I can't see him.
Have eyes on him, mate?
Just to give you a kind of geography, the lead Jackal, which we've been in, is there. We've jumped off because we were sitting right on the top of it. The guys are bombering to get up to the high point. ICOM chatter has said engage them as soon as you see them, so we're expecting it any second.
It's imperative that we stay within the lines marked by Victor Company. To step out of them could mean stepping on an IED and losing your life.
Use your camera, mate, I'll carry that. On the varmint track. Ross! Stay on the track! Say again? Right, just stay there.
Stay here, you know what?
Pass the handset. That's a definite ID there. ID
Right.
ambush.
We're working.
What did you say?
We're working. Right. We were just getting up the top of the hill, ID. Open up on us, we were right in the open. Cameraman's all right.
Battery outfit, yeah, that's contact, compound 7.
That was close.
Well, we think we found an IED. Yeah. Straight away we got contacted there.
Yeah.
So what we do is compound 7 with mortars, and then I'm going to look to find an alternate route up to the high ground to suppress them.
There's a fucking IED up there. And now we're returning fire. We were right in the open, you're right. Yeah, that was as close as you want to get. Tell me.
fire support group find high ground overlooking the enemy, but as the ground troops arrive, the Taliban pull a fast one.
2 enemy, not carrying weapons, know they can't be engaged. You've been standing on the roof, one of the compounds in Big Top. They've just called for a taxi. The taxi's just come and picked them up. They decided not to fight today, so they're now in a taxi, getting into a taxi, and going back home for tea. One of the guys in the FSG just said, "Can you believe the neck on that?"
We remain in position for 4 hours. Eventually, the ground troops leave, and the FSG cover their withdrawal. But as we bring up the rear, the Taliban engage us. Having lost the advantage of high ground, smoke is called in to cover our extraction.
There's mortars going in now, over there.
It's only when they get back to base that the FSG realise how close the Taliban fire came.
Just as we're going like that.
Fucking hell, look. You could feel the heat off them.
Look at the top of that. That's what the round's hit.
That night, I have some of the best food I've ever tasted in a forward operating base. But we don't get much chance to enjoy it. A group of Taliban have been spotted laying IEDs, and the mortar team have been scrambled to target their position.
The enemy that were digging in IED supposedly to begin with are now hiding in a bunker, and they're now re-zeroing the mortars to drop the rounds on top of that bunker.
The Marines managed to disrupt the Taliban, but have no confirmed kills. We can only hope that they were spotted before they had the chance to lay any IEDs. And as the gunfire subsides, I head for bed, as we're up early again tomorrow on operations. It's just after 5. We're going to walk some 3 clicks, lie up on some high ground up a place called Kahalabad. The guys will get contacted from there by the enemy. Once they're contacted, they can return fire and go after their main target, which is a place called Kajaki. It's a Taliban stronghold. Across the wadi from Kajaki is a place called Mazdarak, and that's where 3 young Anglians died 2 years ago. Joining Victor Company on the operation will be the Afghan National Army with their Royal Marine mentoring team. They will take up position on Ant Hill. The fire support group will take position on Shrine and Essex Ridge.
Push up to that area and then just skirt along the edge of that high ground. In between those 2? Yeah, up between the 2 compounds there. Okay. Got our snipers now moving on to Ant Hill, right?
Is he already up there?
Ant Hill, that's known as. Frustratingly slow, innit?
Yeah, mate. Safe and sorry, I suppose. You can see how exposed it is then, mate.
Yeah. We've only got 11 minutes of the B1. So you get up on top of that.
They've got a B-1 bomber standing by. They've only got 11 minutes to use it, so the guys have to get up there. And over there is a town. They call it Kajaki. It's an enemy stronghold, so they can get attacked now. And in a way, that's what they want. They want the enemy to engage them, so they can actually engage back and then use all the assets, particularly this bomber that's up in the sky. But as they said, it's only got a short window where they can use it, because it'll be tasked somewhere else. Anyway, we should catch up with them. Again, Taliban know the soldiers come up here and use this high ground, so they definitely ID it. The Marines have cleared and marked a narrow track for us to follow. To step out of it could be fatal. 80% of all casualties are victims of IEDs.
Right, we've made it to the top of Pyramid Hill, as you can tell by my breath. It's a little bit of a steep climb. Now I have a high view of Taliban and of Kajaki, which is ultimately the target of today's operation. But it's quite high up here, as you can tell. He's just catching up with me. Fantastic views over the surrounding countryside. We've got the A&A just over to our right. Just further north of their position is actually Mazdarak, which... Oh! Anyone know what that was?
Contact IED, uphill.
IED. Until over there. The smell of the cordite and the fumes just hitting us now. We've got shots coming in. Over to... Shots going in. That's a GPMG firing in.
"900 metres away on Essex Ridge, the FSG engaged the enemy.
Where is it? Down here.
Anyone hurt?
Yeah, we've got one casualty at the moment, which we're just dealing with.
But Kazavak's on its way. Helicopter that will take him to a hospital as quickly as possible. As you can tell, this has upset the lads, rightly so. They're going to give it all they've got now to make sure they get their own back, I would imagine. Well, bang on.
5 kilometres away at the base at Kajaki, the mortar team are tasked to engage the enemy.
Fire!
Which rounds are going in to Taliban now. They know there's enemy there.
The medics take the casualty to a makeshift landing
Second
zone.
strike from air, right? We're going to bring in air on that target now.
Fast air's on its way. It's dropping something big, don't know how much. But it's 30 seconds away, so we're going in 30 seconds. Can hear it above us now, actually. There it goes. Whoa! JK! Tell me. 2, one went in, incoming straight over us. So, you know, we may have dropped £2,000 over there, but there's still soldiers willing to take us on that way. I'm not exactly want to get my head up again right now, do you? Whoops! Reckon that was a sniper round, mate?
It was a single shot, yeah.
I think it was a sniper round because it was a single round and it had a lot of velocity behind it. You'd think that there would be more rounds coming in if it had been a PKM, but, you know, I'm a civilian, what do I know? How much ordnance was that?
3 £2,000-pounders, like.
That was a lot of ordnance that was just dropped then. That was 3 £2,000 bombs. A lot of bombs just dropped and a lot of money was just dropped. But, yeah, that woke me up.
Unknown to us, there are more missiles on the way. This time from the guided mobile launch rocket system at FOB Edinburgh. The operation to destroy the Taliban stronghold has been a success. Our thoughts now turn to the one casualty of this operation.
Dave's just told the troop to be really aware because the medical emergency response team are on their way in by Chinook. Now, the problem is, of course, the Chinook is a fantastic target for the Taliban, so the guys have to be really, really aware that if any fire starts getting pushed in the direction of the helicopter, they suppress it immediately. Otherwise, you know, it could be a potential disaster.
Yeah, just drop down to the rear sections, like.
No smoke, no, just go.
No, we're just going now.
All right, we're off.
good. Got down there without being taken on, but I know that the Apache above us would have dissuaded a lot of guys from putting their hands up. The Mert arrived to pick up the casualty and take him back to the hospital at Camp Bastion. As a casualty leaves the battlefield, it's a sobering reminder to all of us to keep between the lines. At the base of Pyramid Hill, we meet up with Corporal Matthew Darcy.
Mate, any news on the cash?
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, he died before he got back. Just jumped down, like, yeah, that's as far as we know, Cat E, so that's where the Mert was. It come in 35 minutes, as good as gold, like, but yeah, only he'd lost below, or just above the knee, I think it was, and lost an arm, so I think just massive trauma. But we'll get you down out of here, get you into cover, then
okay,
we'll find out more when we get back.
Well, that's shocking news. Unfortunately, a soldier's just lost his life.
As we arrive back at base, we're told that the soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice is Marine Travis Mackin.
In fact, he only celebrated his 22nd birthday 4 weeks ago. There's obviously a sombre mood throughout the camp. His friends are coming to terms with the loss of a mate. And also his family will be receiving a knock on the door, a knock they would have hoped they would never have to hear. So our thoughts right now are with his family and his loved ones.
2 days have passed since Marine Travis Mackin was killed by an IED. Corporal Adam Burke and Marine Scott Gowerley have agreed to talk to me about their friend.
Travis was a really good friend, a type of bloke who lived every day to the fullest and just had a good time as much as he could, having a laugh and a joke all the time, really.
Just sort of made me smile. Never got stressful out here. He was always a person that made you smile.
He also had a wicked sense of humour, apparently.
Yeah, Christmas night so he went round, handed out Christmas presents to the company sergeant major, to the OC.
He dressed up, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to himself, I'll open one present Christmas night, and the present he opened up turned out to be a Christmas suit with a big fat Christmas belly in it. So he put that on, and then he just wandered around camp handing out presents to everyone, so that was the character of the man. Anything for a laugh.
How's it going? Very good boys, I've got a present here for you. Got a lump of coal for you in the sled, right boy? Merry Christmas.
Deep down, we're all gutted that he's gone, but I know that he'd want us just to crack on.
What about you? How's it affected you?
I got it like just. It's not something I can really deal with here. It'll have to be something I do when I get home, I think.
Yeah.
Into company crew. Jump!
Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here this morning to celebrate the life of, to give thanks for our friend and colleague, Travis, to pay our respects, to say our goodbyes.
Travis Mackin was a true mate and a hoof and roar Marine. He put all his efforts into looking after his friends and making sure everyone around him was having a good time, with his very unique sense of humour shining through. On the ground, he was never afraid of moving forward and taking the fight to the enemy. Sadly, he died doing what he loved and what his calling in life was. I will always remember Travis as an oppo who lived every day to its fullest. And I can now say that it was a privilege and an honour to have worked and known him. Travis, you will not be forgotten. We will remember them.
Travis was the 139th soldier to die in this conflict. Sadly, the death of a soldier is no longer front-page news.
His death is particularly poignant, as over the 2 years we've been making these programs, we've told the stories of 4 of the many young men who have lost their lives here at Kajaki. They, like Travis, Foster, Thrumble and McClure, made the ultimate sacrifice while fighting a dedicated and fanatical enemy that seems to be as determined as ever. The figures tell their own story. Between 2007 and 2008, the number of coalition soldiers wounded has doubled. Those killed in action has quadrupled. The war, or insurgency as it's officially known, is far from over. Some estimate that we will be here for another 10 years, others 15 years. I realise the government doesn't have a bottomless pot of money, but if they're going to ask our service personnel to risk their lives on a regular basis, they should be paid accordingly. No one wants to see this conflict go on forever, particularly the Afghans. Therefore, if we're going to bring security to the people here, there has to be more troops to secure the ground. And that means other countries in ISAF pulling their weight. Also, the rules of engagement in certain areas of the conflict have to be readdressed. How can our soldiers win a war against an enemy that can hold a gun one moment and a hoe the next, exploiting the rules to their own advantage? It's unrealistic to believe that the warlords won't control the poppy harvest here and have influence in certain areas of the government. Controlling the two at an acceptable level will eventually allow Afghans to lead a more peaceful life. Once again, I've been privileged to witness the courage, tenacity, and professionalism of the British soldier. We must continue to support them and their loved ones who have to bear so much of the burden.